if you have ever felt like giving up, if you've questioned whether you have what it takes to keep going, stay with me until the end. Because on the other side of that breaking point lies the version of you that can't be broken. This is not about inspiration. It's about transformation. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The breaking point. Every person has a breaking point. That moment when the weight feels too heavy, the progress feels too slow, and the dream that once burned inside you now feels like it is slipping away. You wake up, look in the mirror, and wonder if it is worth it anymore. The effort, the pain, the patience. You ask yourself if maybe quitting would bring peace. But deep down, you already know the truth. Quitting might bring relief for a moment, but it will not bring peace. The breaking point is not where your story ends. It is where your true self is revealed. Most people see it as a sign to stop. But the few who rise, the few who create something lasting, see it as a signal to transform. When everything in you screams to give up, that is when you are closest to a breakthrough. It is easy to move forward when things are exciting. It is easy to show up when you are winning. But greatness is built in the moments that feel empty, unseen, and heavy. The nights when you feel alone. The mornings when you question why you started. Those are not wasted moments. Those are the moments that shape you into someone who cannot be broken by circumstances. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not broken for wanting to quit. You are human. What matters is what you do next. Most people stop at the edge of discomfort. They confuse exhaustion with failure. But discomfort is not the enemy. It is the invitation. It is life asking you how much you are willing to grow. When you hit your breaking point, something powerful happens if you stay still long enough to see it. You realize that the wall in front of you is not made of stone. It is made of doubt, fear, and old beliefs that no longer serve you. You have built it without realizing it. And the same hands that built it can tear it down. Discipline is not about pushing through with blind force. It is about understanding that your emotions are temporary, but your decisions are permanent. You can feel tired and still move. You can feel hopeless and still act. The ones who win are not always the strongest, but the ones who refuse to stop when it hurts. There will come a day when you look back at this season and realize it was never meant to break you. It was meant to rebuild you. The pain you feel right now is shaping your endurance. The silence is sharpening your focus. The resistance is strengthening your will. You are being prepared for something greater. When you reach the breaking point, do not run from it. Stand in it. Let it test you. Let it burn away the weakness, the fear, the self-doubt. Because on the other side of that breaking point is a version of you that no longer negotiates with excuses. A version that no longer needs permission to keep going. The breaking point is not the end. It is the beginning of the person you were meant to become. Chapter 2. The voice that lies to you. There is a voice that lives in every mind. It whispers softly at first, then grows louder when life gets hard. It tells you that you are tired. It says you have done enough. It insists that nobody cares, that the dream is too far, and that stopping now would not really matter. That voice sounds like reason. It feels safe, but it is not your truth. It is your fear disguised as logic. When you are chasing something meaningful, that voice becomes your biggest enemy. It does not attack you head-on. It sneaks in quietly through comfort, doubt, and comparison. It convinces you that resting is the same as giving up, that delaying is the same as planning, and that comfort is the same as peace. But it is not. The voice in your head is not trying to protect you. It is trying to preserve the version of you that exists right now. Growth is threatening to that voice because growth means change. And change means death to the familiar. The mind clings to what it knows, even if what it knows is pain. It will choose the comfort of misery over the risk of transformation. That is why you must learn to recognize when that voice speaks. You cannot silence it completely, but you can stop believing it. When it tells you that you are too tired, remind yourself that strength is born in fatigue. When it says that you have failed too many times, remind yourself that failure is not final unless you stop showing up. When it insists that nobody notices your effort, remind yourself that self-respect is not earned through applause, but through persistence. The voice in your head has one goal: to keep you safe in the same place. But safety is not success. Safety is stillness. To keep going when you want to quit, you must separate the truth from the lie. The truth is that you are capable of more than your emotions want you to believe. The lie is that it should always feel easy. Easy is the language of stagnation. The voice that lies to you wants easy because easy never exposes your limits. It keeps you where you are, surrounded by excuses and comfort disguised as peace. Every great person has battled this voice. They felt the same doubt, the same fatigue, the same loneliness. The difference is that they acted through it. They did not wait for silence to begin again. They learned to move while the voice screamed inside their head. They understood that motion itself quiets the noise. Action weakens fear, because fear feeds on stillness. You do not defeat that inner voice by arguing with it. You defeat it by proving it wrong, one small action at a time. Each time you move forward despite the noise, it loses power. Each time you finish what you start, it fades a little more. And one day, you will look back and realize that the voice that once ruled your mind now sounds small compared to your purpose. The voice that lies to you will always exist, but it does not have to lead you. You lead it. You acknowledge it, thank it for trying to protect you, and then keep walking. Because the real power begins the moment you stop negotiating with fear. The truth is simple. That voice is not your enemy. It is your test. And every time you move through it, you prove that you are stronger than the limits it tries to build. Chapter 3. The Power of Small Steps. When you think of progress, you imagine big leaps, massive wins, and visible success. But real progress rarely looks like that. It is quieter, slower, less glamorous. It happens in moments when no one is watching, through actions so small that they almost feel insignificant. Yet those small steps are what carry you from where you are to where you want to be. When you are close to quitting, the mind tries to convince you that you are too far behind to make a difference. It will tell you that the gap is too wide, that your effort is too small, and that it is already too late. But the mind forgets one truth. Momentum does not come from doing everything at once. It comes from doing something, anything. A single step forward, repeated over time, becomes unstoppable motion. Discipline is built in inches, not miles. The greats did not wake up one morning and find themselves powerful. They built their strength in silence, one repetition at a time, one decision at a time. When they felt tired, they focused on the next minute, not the next year. When they failed, they learned from the next move, not the last mistake. That is the power of small steps. They keep you moving when your emotions want you to stop. Small steps are powerful because they lower resistance. The idea of changing your entire life is overwhelming, but the idea of changing your next choice feels possible. You may not be able to finish everything today, but you can make today count. You can take one action that shifts your direction. When you do, you send a message to your mind. You remind it that you are not powerless. You are still in motion. Progress is not measured by how much you do in one day. It is measured by how consistent you are across many days. The human brain is wired to crave results, but transformation rewards those who learn to fall in love with the process. Every small step you take strengthens your ability to take another. Each one builds a layer of trust within yourself. You stop waiting to feel ready. You start trusting that movement itself creates readiness. When you commit to small steps, you also disarm perfection. Perfection is one of the biggest killers of progress. It convinces you that if it cannot be perfect, it is not worth doing at all. But progress lives inside imperfection. Every time you take a step, even an imperfect one, you create proof that you can move forward despite uncertainty. The power of small steps lies in their simplicity. They do not require motivation. They only require commitment. 5 minutes of action beats an hour of overthinking. One decision to move beats 10 plans to start later. And the more you repeat those small victories, the louder your confidence becomes. Over time, small steps turn into unstoppable momentum. They compound quietly until one day you look back and realize that you are no longer the person who wanted to quit. You are the person who kept going, who refused to stop, who turned discipline into identity. Remember this truth. You do not have to take a giant leap to change your life. You just have to take the next step and keep taking it, no matter how small it feels. Chapter 4. Discipline over motivation. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. Motivation comes and goes. It rises with excitement and disappears when reality gets hard. But discipline is different. Discipline does not care how you feel. It is the quiet commitment to act no matter what mood you are in. Most people wait for motivation to appear before they move. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or ready. But motivation is unreliable. It fades the moment life becomes uncomfortable. Discipline is what keeps you steady when that spark dies. It is what builds progress on the days when nothing feels exciting. Motivation can start your journey, but only discipline can finish it. Think about every person who has achieved something great. They did not rely on motivation. They relied on structure, habits, and the promise they made to themselves. They woke up on days when they did not want to. They kept going when nobody was clapping. They understood a truth most people ignore. You do not have to feel good to do good work. You just have to show up. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It's not about pushing yourself to exhaustion, but about refusing to negotiate with excuses. The more you practice discipline, the more you realize it is not punishment. It is freedom. Because when you are disciplined, you are no longer controlled by your emotions. You act with purpose, not impulse. Motivation is an emotion. Discipline is a decision. The mind will always try to talk you out of hard things. It will tell you that you are too tired, that you have done enough for today, that it can wait until tomorrow. But discipline whispers a different message. It says, do it anyway. It says, keep the promise you made to yourself. Every time you listen to that voice, you strengthen your will. Every time you act despite feeling low, you grow your power. Discipline also teaches you something motivation never will: respect for yourself. When you keep your word to yourself, you build trust. You start to believe in your ability to follow through. That belief becomes unshakable. It becomes a quiet confidence that no one can give or take away. The people who seem unstoppable are not superhuman. They have simply learned to separate feelings from actions. They have trained themselves to move forward, even when the world feels heavy. They know that doing what must be done is the only path to freedom. Because discipline, when practiced long enough, turns into identity. It stops being something you force and starts being who you are. Motivation might inspire you to start, but discipline ensures you finish. The more you choose discipline, the less you need motivation. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You start creating it. And over time, you realize that you do not need to feel like doing it. You just do it and the feeling follows. Discipline does not shout. It does not beg for attention. It works in silence and reveals its power through results. One quiet decision at a time, it shapes your life into something unstoppable. That is how ordinary people build extraordinary outcomes. Not through emotion, but through action. Chapter 5. Pain is your teacher. Pain is not the enemy. It is the messenger. It speaks in the moments you want to escape the most. It teaches lessons that comfort never can. Yet most people spend their entire lives running from it, hiding behind distractions, blaming others, or pretending they are fine. But the truth is simple. The faster you stop running from pain, the faster it becomes your greatest source of growth. Every time you chase something meaningful, pain will appear. It arrives when you stretch beyond your limits, when you risk rejection, when you commit to something uncertain. It shows up not to punish you, but to prepare you. The problem is that we have been taught to fear pain instead of listening to it. We label it as failure, when in reality it is feedback. When you face pain, you discover what still controls you. You find the beliefs that limit you and the fears that hold you back. Pain exposes what is weak so you can strengthen it. It does not lie. It does not flatter. It tells you exactly where your work is. That is why pain, when faced with awareness, becomes the most honest teacher you will ever have. When you push yourself physically, your muscles tear and rebuild stronger. The same principle applies to your mind. Emotional pain stretches your capacity to endure, to empathize, to lead. Every time you survive something you once thought you could not, you expand your limits. You grow a deeper kind of strength, the kind that cannot be learned from books or speeches. It's earned through experience. Most people quit because they mistake pain for a sign that something is wrong. But pain is proof that something is happening. It is the process of transformation unfolding. The discomfort you feel in growth is the signal that your old self is fading and your new self is forming. You cannot build resilience without resistance. You cannot become powerful while avoiding struggle. When you learn to see pain differently, it loses its power to control you. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That single shift turns suffering into strength. It gives meaning to the struggle. It allows you to move through pain instead of staying stuck inside it. The truth is, pain refines you. It burns away what is false and leaves only what is real. It strips you of illusion and reveals what matters. It shows you who you are when everything comfortable is gone. That is not punishment. That is clarity. So the next time life hurts, pause. Do not run. Do not hide. Listen. Ask what this pain is trying to reveal. Maybe it is telling you to let go of something that no longer fits. Maybe it is showing you how strong you have become. Or maybe it is simply testing whether you are truly committed to what you say you want. Pain will never stop being part of life, but it does not have to define you. Let it teach you, shape you, and remind you that growth always has a cost. The people who keep going are not those who avoid pain. They are the ones who learn from it, who let it forge them into something greater. Pain is not your punishment. It is your proof. It is the evidence that you are still alive, still moving, still transforming. And if you can learn to stand in it without fear, you will discover that pain was never here to break you. It was here to build you. Chapter 6. The Strength of Consistency. Consistency is the quiet force that separates dreamers from achievers. It is not loud, it is not glamorous, but it is relentless. Most people begin with passion and end with excuses. They start strong but fade when life becomes repetitive. Yet the truth is that mastery is not born from intensity. It is born from consistency. The difference between success and failure is not talent or luck. It is the willingness to show up again and again, even when the results are invisible. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about persistence. You keep moving forward, even when progress feels too slow to see. Because the truth is, consistency always compounds. The small actions you repeat become habits. The habits you nurture become identity. And identity creates destiny. There will be days when your motivation disappears completely. The spark that once drove you will fade into silence. On those days, consistency becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when emotion tries to throw you off course. It reminds you that progress is not about how you feel today, but about the standard you uphold every day. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop means nothing, but 1,000 drops falling over time carve through rock. That is the power of consistency. It may not seem powerful in the moment, but over time it shapes everything it touches. The human mind craves novelty. It wants excitement, newness, and reward. That is why most people fail to stay consistent. They confuse boredom with failure. They assume that if it is not exciting, it is not working. But boredom is not a sign to stop. It is a sign to trust the process. Because repetition is where mastery lives. The gym feels repetitive. Practice feels repetitive. Writing, studying, and creating often feel repetitive. But every repetition is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you show up, even when it feels pointless, you're training your mind to keep promises. And that ability to follow through when no one is watching becomes your greatest strength. Consistency also teaches patience. It reveals that transformation is not a moment, but a series of choices. It trains you to stop chasing outcomes and start valuing endurance. When you are consistent, you no longer need immediate results to validate your effort. You know that every small action is building something invisible, something solid beneath the surface. The hardest part of consistency is not the work itself. It is doing the work without the immediate reward. But those who learn to keep going anyway, those who can repeat simple actions with purpose, become unstoppable. Because consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds belief. So when you feel like you are stuck, when nothing seems to move, do not stop. Stay consistent. Keep showing up. Every effort you make is a seed. Some grow fast, some grow slow, but all of them grow. And when the time is right, they will bloom into results that look like luck, but are really persistence made visible. Consistency does not demand perfection. It only demands presence. Show up again and again until showing up becomes who you are. Because the truth is, success is never built in a day. It is built daily. Chapter 7. The Battle with Comfort. Comfort is the silent killer of potential. It disguises itself as peace, but it is often the prison that keeps you from growth. Comfort feels good because it is safe. It asks for nothing, risks nothing, and gives you the illusion that everything is fine. But underneath that calm lies something dangerous. Stagnation, the quiet decay of your potential. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you teach your mind to retreat. You train it to avoid the very experiences that would have made you stronger. Growth and comfort cannot live in the same space. One must always push the other out. The truth is, every meaningful transformation begins the moment you step beyond what feels easy. Comfort seduces you with promises of rest. It tells you that you have earned a break, that you can always start tomorrow, that you deserve to relax. But comfort never keeps its promises. It does not build confidence, it does not grow skill, and it does not bring fulfillment. It only makes you softer, more hesitant, more fearful of what is unfamiliar. The people who achieve greatness are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who act despite it. They have learned to use discomfort as a compass. When something feels uncomfortable, they know it is a signal that they are expanding. They lean into it instead of running away. They understand that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. The battle with comfort is fought daily, not once. It happens in the smallest choices. Waking up when the alarm rings instead of snoozing. Speaking up when it would be easier to stay silent. Pushing for one more repetition when your body says stop. Each of these choices sends a message to your mind. I am in control, not my comfort. When you learn to live beyond comfort, you begin to build a new identity. You stop chasing ease and start chasing growth. You become the kind of person who welcomes challenge because you understand what it gives you. Every time you step into discomfort, you expand your limits. You discover parts of yourself that would have stayed hidden otherwise. Comfort will always call to you. It will whisper in your ear when you are tired, when you are scared, when things get hard. But you must learn to recognize its voice and choose differently. Because the life you want will never be found inside the comfort zone. It will always be waiting just outside it. Discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. It is where confidence, strength, and resilience are forged. It is where you meet the version of yourself that you were meant to become. The version that does not settle, that does not hide, that refuses to let fear dictate its limits. So when life offers you two paths, one safe and one uncertain, take the uncertain one. Not because it is easy, but because it will grow you. Choose the path that scares you a little. That is where your potential lives. That is where comfort ends and evolution begins. Chapter 8. The Art of Restarting. Every journey will test you. No matter how committed you are, there will be moments when you fall off track, lose focus, or feel like you have failed completely. The difference between those who rise and those who stay down is simple. The ones who rise know how to restart. Restarting is an art. It requires humility, patience, and courage. It means admitting that you lost momentum without letting shame define you. It means standing up when your pride whispers that it is easier to give up. The truth is, everyone stumbles. Everyone breaks consistency at some point. But what separates the strong from the weak is their ability to begin again, no matter how many times they fall. Most people treat restarting as starting over. They see it as going back to zero, erasing all progress. But restarting is not returning to the beginning. It is returning with experience. You come back wiser, tougher, and more aware. You are not starting from scratch. You are starting from strength. When you restart, your mind will resist. It will remind you of how many times you have failed before. It will whisper that you always quit. But that voice is not truth. It is fear, trying to protect you from disappointment. The way to silence it is through action. You do not need to rebuild everything overnight. You only need to take the first step again. Once you move, the weight of failure begins to lift. Restarting teaches you forgiveness, not toward others but toward yourself. Because progress is not linear. It never will be. You will fall behind, lose discipline, and get distracted. But restarting is your way of saying, I still believe in me. It is proof that you refuse to let mistakes become your identity. You will find that the more you practice restarting, the faster you recover. The gap between failure and action grows smaller each time. What once took months to fix might take days. That is growth. Restarting is not weakness. It is resilience in motion. Think of life like a long climb. You might slip and lose your grip, but that does not mean the climb is over. It means you must readjust your hold and keep moving. Every time you restart, you rebuild the habit of perseverance. You train yourself to bounce back instead of break down. The art of restarting also requires perspective. When things fall apart, you can either focus on what you lost or on what you learned. The lesson you take determines how quickly you move forward. Every setback holds wisdom if you are willing to see it. Maybe you learned that your pace was unsustainable. Maybe you discovered a weakness that needs strengthening. Whatever the lesson, take it with you into the next climb. Restarting is not about being perfect. It is about being persistent. It is about saying, I am not done yet. You will never eliminate failure from your life, but you can master how you respond to it. Every restart is a reminder that your story is still being written. So the next time you fall, do not waste energy on guilt. Stand up, breathe, begin again, because the act of restarting is proof that you still have fight left in you. And that fight is what transforms ordinary people into legends. Chapter 9, The Weight of Expectations. Expectations can be both a fuel and a chain. They can push you to aim higher, but they can also crush you under their weight. From a young age, you're surrounded by voices telling you who you should be, what success should look like, and how far you should have come by now. At first, these expectations might seem like motivation, but over time they begin to suffocate you. The world teaches you to chase approval instead of purpose. You start measuring your worth by what others think. You chase standards that were never yours to begin with. You build your life around being enough for everyone else, and in doing so, you forget who you are. The pressure becomes a constant whisper in your mind, reminding you that you are behind, that you are not doing enough, that you are running out of time. But here is the truth. The weight you feel is not from failure. It is from carrying too many expectations that were never meant to be yours. You are not behind. You are on your own timeline. You're not supposed to move like everyone else because you are not living their story. When you stop chasing external validation, you begin to find your real strength. The moment you stop performing for approval, you start building for peace. You realize that your progress only needs to make sense to you. The world might not see your effort, but that does not mean it is wasted. The quiet work you do in the dark is what will later light your path. Expectations are powerful because they shape how you see yourself. If you are constantly trying to meet impossible standards, you will always feel small. But when you set your own standards, you regain control. You decide what success means. You define what matters. You start creating from authenticity, not obligation. Letting go of expectations does not mean lowering your ambition. It means freeing it. It means no longer living in fear of disappointing others. It means chasing goals that align with your truth, not with someone else's checklist. When your effort comes from authenticity, not pressure, your energy becomes unstoppable. The people who live with peace are not those who have no expectations. They are the ones who have learned to carry only the ones that belong to them. They choose goals that reflect who they are becoming, not who they are expected to be. So, if you are exhausted from trying to be enough, stop. Breathe. Ask yourself whose approval you are really chasing. Ask yourself if the standards you are killing yourself to reach even matter to the person you want to become. You may realize that most of the pressure you feel is self-imposed, born from the illusion that you must always prove something. You do not need to prove your worth. You only need to live it. Let go of the need to impress and focus on the need to express. You are not here to meet expectations. You are here to evolve beyond them. The moment you understand that, you become lighter, freer, and stronger. The weight of expectations disappears the moment you choose authenticity over approval. And when that happens, you finally stop living for the world and start living for yourself. Chapter 10. The Power of Identity. Every lasting change begins with identity. You can build habits, set goals, and discipline your actions. But if your identity does not align with the life you want, you will always fall back to the old version of yourself. True transformation happens when you stop trying to act like a better person and start believing you already are one. Your mind is constantly looking for evidence of who you think you are. If you see yourself as lazy, you will find proof of laziness. If you see yourself as weak, you will notice every mistake that reinforces it. But if you start to see yourself as someone who endures, someone who finishes what they start, your actions begin to follow that image. The shift is internal first, external second. Identity is the foundation that discipline and consistency are built upon. It is what keeps you moving when motivation dies. You can force yourself to act for a while, but identity is what makes those actions feel natural. When being strong becomes who you are, you no longer have to convince yourself to keep going. You simply do it because that is what you do. Every time you show up, every time you push through discomfort, you are casting a vote for your new identity. You are proving to yourself that you are no longer the person who quits when it gets hard. You are building evidence of strength. And with enough repetition, that identity becomes unshakable. The problem is that most people try to change their results without changing their identity. They want success, but still see themselves as someone who fails. They want discipline, but still believe they are inconsistent. They want courage, but continue to call themselves afraid. The identity you hold will always win. If you do not change it, it will pull you back to what is familiar, no matter how badly you want to evolve. To change your identity, you must begin with small, undeniable proofs. Start by keeping small promises to yourself. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the task you planned. Speak kindly to yourself instead of harshly. Each time you do, you collect evidence that supports a stronger identity. Over time, these small acts become who you are. Identity is powerful because it removes the need for constant decision-making. You do not have to debate whether you should quit or keep going. You already know the answer because quitting no longer fits who you are. You act from conviction, not emotion. When you build an identity rooted in resilience, failure no longer defines you. It becomes part of the story you are proud to tell. You see obstacles as tests that confirm your strength, not as proof of your weakness. You start walking with quiet confidence because your identity is no longer fragile. It is grounded in action and belief. The most powerful thing you can ever say is this: I am the kind of person who keeps going. Once you believe that, you no longer need to search for motivation. Your actions will align naturally. Your effort will become effortless because it matches who you are at your core. Transformation is not about changing what you do. It is about changing who you believe yourself to be. Once your identity shifts, everything else follows. You do not chase strength. You become it. You do not hope for discipline. You embody it. You do not wish for perseverance. You live it. You are not who you were. You are who you decide to become moment by moment, action by action. And when that truth becomes your identity, quitting will no longer be an option. Chapter 11. The Mindset of Progress. Progress is not about grand victories or dramatic breakthroughs. It is about quiet, forward motion. It is the kind that happens when no one is watching, when the applause has stopped, and the only thing left is your willingness to take one more step. Growth is not measured by how far you have gone, but by the direction you continue to walk, even when the path feels endless. Most people stop because they mistake slow movement for failure. They believe progress should always feel visible and fast. But true progress is invisible for long stretches of time. It lives in the repetition of effort, in the decisions that look small, but build strength layer by layer. You must redefine how you see success. It is not about reaching a finish line. It is about becoming the person who keeps walking toward it. Each day you show up, you are moving forward even if the results have not yet appeared. You may not notice it, but your patience is expanding. Your tolerance for struggle is growing. The very act of continuing is shaping you into someone more stable, more grounded, and more capable of enduring what once broke you. Progress is a mindset before it becomes a result. It demands faith in invisible growth. It asks you to believe in what cannot yet be measured. Some days you will move inches, some days you will stumble backward. If you keep your focus on the direction and not the distance, you will always find yourself further ahead than before. The key is not to demand proof of success every day. The key is to trust that consistency is proof in itself. Detach from the illusion of perfect timelines. The world will tell you that you should be further by now and that others have already achieved what you are still fighting for. Comparison is poison. Your journey has its own rhythm. Progress is not a race. It is a personal evolution, and no one else can define its pace but you. When frustration rises, remind yourself that every master was once a beginner who refused to stop. Every confident person was once uncertain and kept showing up until confidence became natural. The difference between those who succeed and those who quit is not talent or luck. It is endurance. It is the willingness to keep moving, even when progress feels invisible. Measure your life not by speed, but by direction. As long as you are walking toward your purpose, you are already winning. Each small act compounds. Each repetition strengthens your foundation. One day you will look back and see that what felt like small progress was actually transformation in slow motion. Keep your eyes forward. Keep your mind patient. Keep your effort consistent. The person who never stops, even when it feels like nothing is changing, becomes unstoppable. Chapter 12. The Price of Discipline. Discipline is the silent contract between who you are and who you want to become. It asks for payment every single day. The price is not money or talent, it is comfort. It is the willingness to let go of the easy path in exchange for the one that will test your patience, your endurance, and your character. Every time you choose discipline, you make a trade. You trade short-term pleasure for long-term strength. You trade what feels good now for what will make you proud later. The truth is that discipline will never feel natural at first. The human mind is wired to seek ease. It wants rest, reward, and validation. But the deeper part of you, the one that craves greatness, knows that comfort is a false friend. It whispers that you can rest now, that you can do it later, that one day of skipping does not matter. But each time you surrender to that voice, you delay the life you could have had. Discipline is the refusal to negotiate with that weakness. It is the decision to act according to your vision, not your emotions. There is always a cost to success. The question is whether you are willing to pay it. To become who you are meant to be, you will have to sacrifice comfort, approval, and sometimes even companionship. There will be mornings when you wake up tired, nights when you feel alone, and moments when you question whether it is worth it. That is the price. You pay it not once but continuously. You pay it every time you choose structure over impulse, focus over distraction, and persistence over ease. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, you prove that your word has power. You begin to trust yourself. That trust becomes momentum. It builds a kind of inner strength that cannot be taken away. People who live without discipline drift through life, reacting to everything around them. People who live with discipline create direction. They become deliberate. They know that sacrifice is not loss. It is investment. Every great story of success is built on this truth. Behind every athlete, artist, or leader you admire is someone who chose the harder path long before anyone believed in them. They gave up comfort so they could build capacity. They gave up distraction so they could gain focus. They understood that everything worthwhile costs something. That is why their victories look effortless to others, but were bought with years of discipline. When you feel the weight of routine pressing down on you, remember what it means. It means you are paying for your evolution. Every repetition, every moment of restraint, every act of discipline is a deposit toward the person you are becoming. So do not run from the price. Embrace it. Pay it daily with focus, consistency, and courage, because once you have paid enough times, you will realize something powerful. Discipline does not take from you. It gives back everything you have ever wanted. It gives you strength, freedom, and peace within yourself. Chapter 13. How to Build Inner Grit. Grit is what remains when everything else fades. It is the quiet, unshakable strength that grows from struggle. It does not come from comfort, talent, or luck. It comes from the countless moments when you could have quit, but chose not to. Grit is not loud. It does not need attention. It is the invisible muscle built through pain, patience, and perseverance. The truth is that life will test you. It will break your plans, delay your dreams, and challenge your confidence. When that happens, most people look for an escape. They search for shortcuts, distractions, or someone to blame. But those who possess grit do something different. They stand still. They breathe, they accept the storm, and remind themselves that strength is not given, it is forged. Every difficulty becomes a chance to build endurance. Every obstacle becomes a lesson in staying power. You cannot fake grit. It is not a mood or a feeling. It is a decision. It is the ability to keep moving forward when your body is tired, your mind is heavy, and your heart feels like it has nothing left to give. It means getting up after failure, not because you feel like it, but because you promised yourself that you would. It means staying focused when nobody is watching and working when nobody is clapping. Grit begins where motivation ends. The strongest people are not those who never feel pain. They are the ones who feel everything and still keep going. They do not allow emotion to decide the outcome. They understand that pain is temporary, but quitting is forever. They use hardship as a tool. They let every setback teach them something about resilience. They learn how to suffer with purpose, how to endure with dignity, and how to keep faith in themselves when the results are nowhere to be seen. Building inner grit is a slow process. It grows in silence. You build it every time you finish what you start. You build it when you face discomfort instead of running from it. You build it when you choose discipline over excuses and responsibility over blame. Each time you do what you said you would do, even when it is hard, you strengthen the foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Do not wait for life to get easier. Instead, get stronger. Learn to see obstacles as training. Let frustration become fuel. Let fear become focus. You will realize that the power to endure is already inside you. It just needed to be tested. Grit is not about being unbreakable. It is about learning how to bend without falling apart. It is about choosing courage when comfort calls your name. You may not always move fast, but if you keep moving, you will always rise. The longer you stand, the stronger you become. One day, you will look back and realize that grit did not just help you survive the hard moments, it turned you into someone who no longer fears them. Chapter 14. The Storm of Doubt. Every dream worth chasing comes with a storm. The sky darkens with fear, uncertainty, and questions that echo louder than your courage. You start wondering if the effort is worth it, if you have what it takes, and if the progress you have made will ever be enough. This storm is called doubt. It arrives without warning and stays longer than you expect. What most people never learn is that doubt is not your enemy. It is proof that you are stretching your limits. It appears when you walk beyond what is familiar. Doubt is the mind's way of asking if you are sure. It shows up at the edge of growth, not because you are weak, but because you are changing. Every new level brings a new kind of uncertainty. It is natural to question yourself when you step into unknown territory. You do not have to eliminate doubt to move forward. You only have to stop letting it lead. Doubt can exist, but faith must drive. When the storm hits, your thoughts twist and pull. They try to convince you that failure is certain, that you should retreat before you embarrass yourself, that the pain is not worth the promise. This storm has a purpose. It is testing your commitment. It wants to know if you will move without guarantees, if you will continue when nothing is certain. Those who do are the ones who cross into greatness. To survive the storm of doubt, ground yourself in truth. The truth is that progress often feels like chaos before it feels like clarity. The truth is that strength is built through repetition, not reassurance. Every time you act in spite of doubt, you prove to yourself that fear is not in control. Action weakens uncertainty. Each step forward is an act of defiance against hesitation. You cannot think your way out of doubt. You can only act your way through it. Faith is not a feeling. It is a decision to move, even when the voice in your head says you are not ready. That is where transformation happens. You begin to trust motion more than emotion. You realize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. When you look back on your life, you will not remember the moments of perfect confidence. You will remember the times when you moved through fear and did it anyway. Those are the moments that shape you. Those are the storms that build your strength. The next time doubt tries to pull you down, remind yourself that you are in the middle of your becoming. The storm is not here to drown you. It is here to clean you, to remove everything that cannot survive where you are going. Stand in it, move through it, and when it clears, you will see that doubt was never there to stop you. It was there to reveal that your faith was real. Chapter 15. Mastering the Hard Days. There will be days when everything feels heavier than usual. The kind of days when your energy is low, your patience is thin, and your goals feel far away. These are the days that test everything you claim to believe in. It is easy to be disciplined when motivation is high. It is easy to chase excellence when life moves smoothly. But mastery is not built on easy days. It is built on the hard ones. Hard days are not a punishment. They are the classroom of growth. They teach you what discipline really means. They strip away comfort, routine, and illusion. They show you whether your commitment is strong enough to survive without inspiration. When the excitement fades, and all that remains is the work, that is when your true character is revealed. You cannot control when hard days come, but you can decide how you will face them. The first rule is to stay grounded. Do not let emotion control the direction of your day. You may feel tired, frustrated, or uninspired, but feelings are not facts. Action still matters more than mood. If you can show up even when your heart is heavy, you are already winning. You are proving that your effort is stronger than your emotion. The second rule is to simplify. On the hardest days, do not chase perfection. Focus on movement. Focus on one task, one small win, one reason to stay in motion. Progress does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It says, just do what you can. When you finish that small act of effort, you regain momentum. You remind yourself that you are not powerless. The third rule is to practice forgiveness. You will not perform perfectly every time. There will be moments when you fall short, lose focus, or struggle to keep your promise. Do not let guilt weigh you down. Discipline is not about never failing. It is about returning faster each time you do. The faster you return, the stronger your resilience grows. The hardest days also reveal something important. They show you that growth does not always feel good. It often feels like exhaustion, frustration, and doubt. Beneath that discomfort, a deeper transformation is happening. Your patience is expanding. Your tolerance for uncertainty is strengthening. You are learning how to work without reward, how to keep faith without proof, and how to stay calm under pressure. So when those hard days arrive, do not run from them. Meet them with quiet determination. Remind yourself that struggle is not the end of the story. It is the middle chapter where greatness is written. Do what you can, rest when you must, but never stop. The people who master the hard days are the ones who master life. Every time you survive one, you become stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. Hard days do not define you. They refine you. Chapter 16. Turning pain into power. Pain is one of the few experiences that visits every human being, yet most people never learn how to use it. They try to escape it, hide it, or numb it. But pain, when understood, becomes one of the greatest sources of strength you will ever possess. It is not there to destroy you. It is there to refine you. The same heat that melts wax hardens clay. What pain does to you depends on what you are made of. Every challenge, heartbreak, and disappointment carries a hidden gift. It strips away illusion. It forces you to see what truly matters. Pain clears away the noise that comfort allows to grow. It brings you back to your core, to the raw parts of yourself that are still willing to fight, still willing to rise, still willing to believe in something better. The people who learn to harness pain are the ones who no longer fear it. They use it as fuel. They allow it to build depth, empathy, and endurance. When pain comes, it is easy to think it means you are failing. But pain is not the sign of failure. It is the sign of growth. Muscles do not grow without resistance. Minds do not evolve without pressure. You cannot reach the next level of yourself without being stretched beyond comfort. The reason pain hurts so deeply is because it is pulling you out of who you were and shaping you into someone new. To turn pain into power, you must first stop running from it. Sit with it. Feel it. Ask what it is trying to teach you. Every wound carries wisdom. Maybe it is teaching you patience. Maybe it is teaching you humility. Maybe it is reminding you that you are stronger than you ever gave yourself credit for. When you stop avoiding pain, it loses its ability to control you. When you face it directly, you reclaim your power. The second step is to redirect it. Do not let pain become self-pity. Let it become motion. Use it to build something. Turn heartbreak into focus. Turn loss into gratitude. Turn struggle into a reason to become disciplined. Channel that energy into growth instead of grief. Every hour spent in pain is also an hour you could spend creating something new from it. Lastly, learn to be grateful for what pain reveals. It shows you who your real friends are, what you truly care about, and what you are willing to fight for. Pain brings clarity. It separates what is temporary from what is eternal. When you look back, you will realize that the hardest moments were not detours. They were the exact steps that built your strength. So do not waste your pain. Let it shape you. Let it wake you up. Let it teach you that power is not found in comfort, but in courage. The people who rise highest are not those who avoided pain. They are the ones who learned how to turn it into purpose. Chapter 17. The Power of Patience. Patience is one of the hardest virtues to master because it demands faith when results are invisible. In a world that moves fast and praises speed, patience can feel like weakness. Yet it is the quality that separates those who burn out quickly from those who build something that lasts. Nothing meaningful happens overnight. Growth takes time, and the ones who win are the ones who learn how to wait with purpose. Patience is not about sitting still or doing nothing. It is active. It is the strength to keep moving at a steady pace while trusting that your effort will bear fruit. It is the quiet confidence that your time is coming, even when the world seems to rush past you. The impatient person looks for shortcuts, but the patient one builds foundations. While others chase attention, the patient one builds mastery. Patience is not the absence of movement. It is controlled direction. Every journey will test your patience. You will plant seeds that take longer than expected to grow. You will give your best and see no immediate reward. You will look around and wonder why others are ahead while you are still fighting through the early stages. In those moments, remember that timing is not proof of worth. Some paths take longer because they are meant to build you before they bless you. The delay is not denial, it is development. Patience is also the art of restraint. It teaches you when to act and when to wait. There are moments in life when rushing only breaks what could have been beautiful. You cannot force timing any more than you can rush a sunrise. The best things mature slowly, and if you learn to trust that process, you will live with less anxiety and more peace. Patience turns frustration into focus. It teaches you to use waiting time as working time. While others complain, you prepare. While others give up, you improve. The impatient mind believes that progress only happens when visible. Patience knows that progress is often hidden. Growth happens underground before it ever shows above the surface. Every day you stay consistent, even when it feels pointless. Something within you is expanding. Your discipline deepens. Your focus sharpens. Your faith strengthens. The rewards come later, but the transformation begins now. To develop patience, remind yourself that time is not your enemy. It is your ally. Every minute that passes is part of your training. Patience teaches emotional control, builds resilience, and protects you from impulsive choices that could ruin long-term success. It turns anxiety into preparation and envy into gratitude for the journey you are on. So do not rush your path. Move forward with calm persistence. Trust that what is meant for you will unfold when you are ready to carry it. The power of patience lies in knowing that you do not need to chase what is already on its way. True strength is found not only in movement, but in the ability to wait without losing faith. Chapter 18. Rising After Failure. Failure is a teacher that most people avoid, yet it is the one that teaches the most. It does not arrive to destroy your confidence. It comes to reveal the limits of your preparation and the depth of your belief. Every failure carries a message. It says that you tried, that you reached, that you cared enough to risk. It means you were brave enough to act when others stayed still. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the foundation on which it stands. When something falls apart, it is natural to feel disappointment. The mind replays what could have been. You question your effort, your choices, and even your worth. You feel the weight of defeat pressing down like a shadow that refuses to leave. But failure only defines you if you stop moving. It has no lasting power over those who choose to learn from it. What breaks most people is not failure itself, but the meaning they attach to it. They see it as proof that they were not enough instead of proof that they were brave enough to try. The truth is that failure sharpens you. It strips away arrogance, reveals weakness, and strengthens humility. It teaches you how to adapt, how to think deeper, and how to face discomfort with calm. Each time you fail, you receive valuable information about what does not work. That wisdom becomes your advantage. Those who avoid failure avoid growth. Those who embrace it move forward with experience that cannot be taught in comfort. To rise after failure, accept it without denial. Pretending it did not happen only delays the healing. Face it honestly. Ask what it taught you. Ask what patterns led to it. Ask how you can grow because of it. When you turn reflection into understanding, the pain begins to lose its power. The noise settles. You begin to rise. The next step is to rebuild your confidence through action. Do not wait to feel ready. Move again, even if your steps are small. Action restores belief. The more you move, the quieter the fear becomes. Momentum replaces shame. You start to realize that failure did not break you. It shaped you into someone wiser and stronger. Do not measure your life by how many times you fell, but by how many times you stood up again. Every great success story has chapters of defeat. Every champion has faced humiliation and loss. The difference is that they refused to stop. They turned every setback into training. They let the pain polish their purpose and the lessons refine their path. Rising after failure also means forgiving yourself. Let go of the need to be perfect. Release the urge to replay every mistake. Take the lesson, then let the scene fade. Self-forgiveness is not an excuse. It is a decision to move forward without dragging the past behind you. It clears your attention for the work that is in front of you now. When you rise after failure, you prove something powerful to yourself. You prove that your spirit is greater than your circumstance. You prove that resilience is not born from winning, but from recovering. Failure is not the end. It is the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. Stand up, wipe off the dust, keep walking forward. The fall was not your ending, it was your beginning. Chapter 19. Becoming Unstoppable. There comes a point in your journey when persistence stops being something you do and becomes who you are. It no longer depends on motivation, emotion, or circumstance. It becomes instinct. The person who keeps showing up eventually transforms into someone who cannot be stopped. Becoming unstoppable is not about strength that never wavers. It is about building a mindset that refuses to surrender. When you reach this stage, your focus changes. You stop chasing quick results and begin to honor the process itself. You start seeing effort as its own reward. You no longer need validation or recognition to keep going because your identity is rooted in progress, not praise. Each day becomes an opportunity to prove to yourself that your consistency is stronger than your mood. You do not wait for energy to appear. You create it through action. That is what separates the unstoppable from the uncertain. Momentum is built one small decision at a time. It begins with saying yes when your mind says no. It grows every time you follow through on a promise you made to yourself. Over time, those choices build a kind of self-respect that cannot be shaken. You begin to trust yourself completely. You stop doubting your ability to handle challenges because you have faced them before and survived. This trust is the fuel that keeps you moving when others stop. Becoming unstoppable does not mean you feel strong every day. It means that even on your weakest days, you still find a way to move forward. You rest, you adjust, but you do not quit. You learn to work with your limits instead of letting them define you. You understand that consistency is not perfection. It is presence. It is the daily choice to stay in motion, no matter how slow the progress feels. You will notice that when you live this way, the world begins to respond differently. Opportunities come not because you waited for them, but because you prepared for them. People begin to respect your reliability. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth because your actions speak louder than your explanations. Your presence carries quiet authority because you have earned it through effort. The unstoppable person is not someone who never falls. It is someone who keeps rising without hesitation. You become calm under pressure because you have learned that pressure is not the enemy. It is the test that reveals your power. Every obstacle becomes another opportunity to demonstrate what you are made of. When you reach this level, persistence is no longer an effort. It is your nature. You no longer chase motivation. You embody discipline. You no longer search for the right time. You make the time. You live with the quiet certainty that no matter what comes, you will find a way through it. That is what it means to be unstoppable. It is not a state of perfection. It is a state of peace. The peace that comes from knowing that you can endure anything and still keep moving forward. Chapter 20. The Unbreakable Mind. There comes a point in every person's journey when strength is no longer about how much you can lift, but how much you can carry in silence. The unbreakable mind is not built in moments of ease. It is shaped in the hours when everything feels uncertain and you choose to keep faith anyway. It is created through patience, persistence, and perspective. To reach this state, you must stop seeing struggle as a punishment and start seeing it as preparation. The unbreakable mind is calm, not cold. It feels deeply, yet it is not controlled by emotion. It recognizes that life is full of noise, and peace is found not by escaping it, but by mastering it. The person who becomes unbreakable does not avoid storms. They walk through them with presence and control. They understand that chaos cannot defeat someone who refuses to lose focus. This strength is not born overnight. It grows through repetition, through self-awareness, and through the constant act of returning to what matters. Every time you face fear and stay grounded, your mind learns stability. Every time you face failure and rise again, your mind learns courage. Every time you face uncertainty and stay still, your mind learns trust. Over time, that stability becomes unshakable. The unbreakable mind does not depend on external motivation. It draws power from inner truth. It knows that peace is not given by circumstances, but chosen in every moment. When things go wrong, it asks what can be learned instead of asking why this happened. It does not waste energy on control. It uses energy for clarity. The mind that cannot be broken is the one that does not resist reality, but works with it. To develop this strength, learn to pause before reacting. Most people lose power because they react from emotion instead of intention. The unbreakable mind waits. It observes. It thinks before it speaks and acts with direction rather than impulse. That pause is where wisdom lives. It is the space between reaction and response where mastery is born. The unbreakable mind also forgives easily. It knows that resentment is a form of weakness because it keeps you tied to what hurt you. True mental power is the ability to let go of what no longer serves you. You cannot move forward while holding on to the past. Freedom begins where resistance ends. Forgiveness is not agreement. It is release. It is the choice to recover your attention for the work that matters now. This mind honors boundaries. It protects focus and treats attention as a sacred resource. It chooses silence when noise offers nothing. It chooses patience when haste would break what is still becoming. It chooses humility when pride would close the door to growth. These quiet choices accumulate into a strength that does not need to announce itself. It is felt, not forced. When you live with an unbreakable mind, you stop fearing life's challenges. You see them as chances to demonstrate who you have become. You face pain with peace, failure with faith, and change with calm. You no longer ask for an easy life. You ask for a stronger mind. With that strength, nothing can truly defeat you. Becoming unbreakable is not about building walls. It is about building depth. It is about finding such peace within yourself that no external force can shake it. That is the highest form of power. It is not loud. It is patient and steady. It is the quiet knowing that no matter what comes, you will remain whole.